In the previous video, I broke down in detail the strategy Vietnam used to bring down America's B-52 bombers. But that wasn't the whole story. Vietnam didn't just shoot down B-52s in the sky. They also ambushed the bombers right where they sat waiting for takeoff. So what exactly happened? In February 1967, the United States intensified its bombing campaign against North Vietnam with escalating ferocity. Every day, the U.S. Air Force carried about 600 to 800 sorties, dropping 2,000, 3,000 tons of bombs. To shorten flight time and increase sortie rates, the U.S. operated from a network of air bases in Thailand, primarily Utapao, Ubon, and Udon, all close to North Vietnam and ideal for launching, refueling, and repairing B-52s. Recognizing this, Vietnam decided to send a special operations team into Thailand under deep cover. Their initial mission was to conduct thorough reconnaissance of Utapao Air Base, and if an opportunity arose, sabotage the B-52s on the ground. Two groups were considered for selection. First, Thai Vietnamese expatriates who had returned to Vietnam, spoke fluent Thai, had technical or mechanical skills, and still possessed legal connections in Thailand. Second, seasoned commandos with strong field craft, navigation skills, endurance, discipline, and the willingness to sacrifice their lives. Ultimately, two commandos were chosen, Viet Cong and B-52 Phuong. After additional training, they secretly traveled from North Vietnam along the Ho Chi Minh Trail to Loc Ninh, then crossed onto the Balavan Plateau in Laos before approaching the Thai border. In a remote mountainous forest, they established a temporary base close enough to launch reconnaissance missions, yet secure enough to remain undetected. They relied entirely on hard currency to buy food, tools, disguises, and materials for concealing their weapons. By day, they disguised themselves as mechanics or auto repairmen, blending into the communities around Utapao to gather general intelligence. By night, they crept toward the base to observe takeoff patterns, patrol routes, fencing systems, guard posts, and B-52 parking positions. Their base camp lay 100-300 kilometers from the target, forcing them to travel mostly at night, navigating by stars, water flows, wind direction, and forest features classic commando technique. Each day, they had to cover more than 20 kilometers. During daylight, they hid, sometimes digging makeshift shelters to avoid detection. Their rations followed the proven practice of Truong Son troops. Husked sticky rice left with its bran layer, soaked in salted water, steamed, dried, then roasted until puffed like cereal, mixed with sugar for preservation. Each commando carried about 10 kilos of food, and with weapons and gear, total loads reached 30 kilo. Water was taken from streams to save weight. Each round trip took about a month, during which they lost 14 kilo due to lack of sleep, hunger, jungle malaria, and insects. In October 1971, after numerous infiltrations, the two commandos planned a deep penetration reconnaissance mission inside Utapao. They finalized all critical factors, each B-52's parking spot, patrol routines, fencing layout, and the safest axis of approach. With this data, they completed their attack plan: infiltrate covertly and plant timed explosive charges on each aircraft to create simultaneous detonations. If compromised, they would immediately switch to a direct assault, using grenades and small arms to destroy the aircraft on the spot and fight to the death if necessary. Their weapon loadout was compact but destructive. 10 explosive charges, each containing 0.4 kilograms of C4, and 2 grenades for close combat or breaking through resistance. On January 9, 1972, they donned civilian disguises and traveled by local vehicle to the vicinity of Utapao. At 7 p.m., they retrieved previously cached weapons and began their infiltration. The base's fence stood nearly 2 meters high and consisted of multiple layers of razor wire, making wire cutting difficult and noisy. They had to find gaps and silently slide their bodies through. During the approach, they encountered patrols 3 times. The first 2 times they slipped by in the shadows. The third time, the patrol was too close, and they were forced to open fire, killing 2 American servicemen and a military dog, then altering their route to avoid encirclement. Roughly 300 meters from the B-52 parking area, they encountered 3 vehicles and 2 U.S. soldiers, forcing them to detour, sticking to darker areas as they advanced. When only 50 meters away, another patrol spotted them and opened fire. B-52 Phuong reacted instantly, throwing a grenade to create cover. The pair then dashed into the parking zone and planted the explosive charges on the B-52s as planned. After planting all charges, Phuong ordered the withdrawal. Viet Cong moved toward their pre-planned exit point, while Phuong slipped out near the bomb storage area. As Phuong escaped the fence, he heard intense gunfire from the exit. Jai had stayed behind to fend off pursuers and was killed in action. Moments later, powerful explosions erupted, flames engulfing the aircraft stands. According to Vietnamese sources, the raid destroyed 8 B-52s at Utapao. In July 1972, Vietnam deployed 23 personnel, including a pathfinding team and logistics support, across the Truong Son Trail to the Don Ca Tom rainforest near the Thailand, Laos, Cambodia border. They established a command post and slowly opened a covert corridor toward Udon Air Base. In late July, the pathfinding team began its trek through forests and rivers toward the base. But after 15 days with no food left, they had to turn back. They then devised a caterpillar-style supply method, with 3 soldiers each carrying over 30 kilograms of food, burying 10 kilograms at point A before returning. On subsequent trips, they established caches at points B, C, D, and beyond, creating a hidden supply route that stretched all the way toward Udon. In early August, the team made contact with the Vietnamese Revolutionary Network in Thailand, disguised as Thai civilians. Their scouts conducted daily surveillance of the base patrol times, entry points, and aircraft positions. Even though the corridor was still incomplete, their guiding principle was to reconnoiter as they went, finalize the attack plan as they learned, and strike immediately if an opportunity arose. By late August, a 10-man combat team crossed into Thailand and linked up with a Vietnamese base. Throughout September, they scouted the battlefield, mapping assembly points, infiltration routes, and escape paths in preparation for a small but extremely dangerous raid. On the rainy night of October, the first they moved into position, but heavy downpours slowed their advance, and they did not reach their approach point near dawn on October the 2nd. With daylight approaching and the risk of exposure rising, they had to hide until nightfall. Their plan was to use delayed action explosives against the B-52s and, if discovered, to switch to a direct assault. The force was divided into 3 groups: a breach and cover team, an aircraft demolition team, and a fuel storage demolition team. On the night of October 2nd, the 2 combat teams infiltrated the base, while the breach team secured the exit route. According to the plan, all teams were to withdraw before sunrise after setting their charges. But dawn came and went with no sign of the 2 combat teams. Throughout the entire night and the morning of October 3rd, the commanders heard only the sound of rain waiting under suffocating tension. Around 10 a.m. on October 3rd, explosions finally echoed from Udon Air Base. Only then did the fuel team reconnect with the breach team. But the 4 members of the B-52 demolition team had not returned. On the American side, multiple B-52s were destroyed, though exact numbers remain unknown because the U.S. kept all information about the Udon attack classified. Before 1972, Ubon had already been hit several times by Vietnamese commandos using planted explosives, prompting the U.S. to tighten security to the point where infiltration became nearly impossible. To continue crippling American air power, Vietnam began developing standoff fire assault tactics but lacked heavy weapons. Once reinforced, the unit received 82mm mortars, rounds, and explosive charges, enough to mount a fire raid on the base. On October 2, 1972, the combat team set out in heavy rain, slogging through mud, carrying heavy loads with limited food and water, and constantly dodging enemy patrols. Nearing the base, several soldiers fell ill with malaria and had to stay behind, but most pushed on. Upon reaching the firing position, the commandos set up their mortars and launched 40 rounds into the base, most landing on target, destroying the control tower, repair facilities, and numerous technical structures. After the attack, they withdrew quickly and burying their weapons along the escape route. Near the border, however, they were ambushed and several were killed. Coming after the raids on Utapao and Udon, the strike on Ubon once again demonstrated the Vietnamese commandos' ability to infiltrate deep and strike directly at the home bases of America's B-52 fleet, increasing pressure on the U.S. during the final phase of the war.